everybody. Today I will be informing you about the various parts of the brain. But first I would like to start off with a quote. The only source of knowledge is experience, and that was written by Albert Einstein. So while you're learning something new, for instance learning a new language, I was curious to learn how that all worked and how we process the information in our brains. And over time I learned about the various parts of the brain and the neurons and the neurotransmitters, and how our brain is affected when we learn a new language. So it is important to learn the parts of the brain in order to understand the certain things we do in our daily lives. So the brain has three main parts: the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. And according to Mayfield's Clinic Anatomy of the Brain, the cerebrum makes up the left and right side of the brain, and it's located right here. And it interprets touch, vision, hearing, speech, emotions, and learning. And the cerebellum is located under the cerebrum right here, and it controls muscle movements, maintains posture and balance. And the brainstem connects the cerebrum and the cerebellum to the spinal cord, and it regulates breathing, heart rate, and other vital things. So the cerebrum is divided into two hemispheres, the left and the right. And the left hemisphere, located right here, controls your right side of your body, while the right hemisphere controls the left side of your body. It's shown in this diagram. It's basically like a crisscross. So left side of your brain controls the right side of your body, while the right side of your brain controls the left side of your body. And the left hemisphere controls speech, comprehension, and writing, while the right hemisphere controls creativity and other artistic and musical skills. Now that we know how the brain is generally organized, it's important to know how the brain is able to send messages to the body. And the brain is composed of neurons, which are nerve cells, and glial cells. And glial cells support the neurons with protection and structural support. So basically, neurons talk to each other across the tiny gap called the synapse right here. And the neuron with many arms, called dendrites right here, act like antennae to pick up these messages from the neurons. And these messages are then moved to the cell body, which is able to pick which messages are important. Those important messages are passed at the end of the axon right here, and sacs containing neurotransmitters cross the synapse here and bind to special receptors right here, receiving the neuron, and you're able to send the message to the body. So in Hallie Levine's article, Your Mood, a User's Manual, it talks about glutamate, which is used for cognitive processes such as learning. So that's the main neurotransmitter I wanted to talk about. And then lastly, it is important to know how humans speak and remember the information given to them. So language and speech are located on the left side of the brain. And there's two key areas, the Broca's area and the Wernicke's area. The Broca's area is involved in the production of speech and the sounds of speech. And also the Wernicke's area controls speech comprehension, so you're able to understand. And that was written by Christina Wiebel's article in How Does Learning New Languages Affect the Brain? So memory is three phases: encoding, storing, and recalling. And short-term memory is located in the prefrontal cortex, and that is like memories that you've only had for a minute, and sometimes they're transferred to the long-term memory, which is located here in the hippocampus, and it's in there for a long time. So, according to Christina Wiebel's How Does Learning New Languages Affect the Brain, someone who is bilingual can process both languages at one time, but the brain is able to allow them to speak one language at a time. So shown in the diagram, bilingual brains use more of the lobes, such as the frontal lobe, parietal lobe, and the temporal lobe. And the frontal lobe is used in judgment and planning, while the parietal lobe is used more in interpreting language and words, while temporal lobe is understanding the language. Yep, so whether as a monolingual, only use more of the frontal lobe. Our brains allow us to live the lives we live now. The neurons help send the message to our bodies. Lastly, our brain is able to let us speak multiple languages. Thank you all for listening to the presentation.